Good morning. It's Friday, September 2nd, 2016, and in the headlines on today's Washington Journal, both candidates for president made their pitches before the nation's largest wartime veterans service organization this week. Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump both addressed the American Legion at its annual convention in Cincinnati, laying out contrasting views on foreign policy, but both vowing to protect the nation's military. We'll take a look at what both candidates had to say, and we have special lines for today's viewer question on this topic, which is just for our viewers who are current and retired members of the armed services. Who is your choice in the 2016 presidential election? Special lines for that question today. Those in the Eastern and Central time zones can call 202-748-8000. Those in our Mountain and Pacific regions can call 202-748-8001. You can also reach us on social media, on Twitter at CSpanWJ, and also on Facebook. And we will take a look at what both candidates had to say. Hillary Clinton spoke before the American Legion on Wednesday. Let's take a look.
Like you, I was outraged by the scandals at VA hospitals. People waiting for months or years for wheelchairs and basic medications. Some even dying while waiting for an appointment. I know that you heard from Secretary McDonald, and I know how hard he and his team are working. We are going to build a 21st century Department of Veterans Affairs that delivers world-class care, and we are not going to let anyone privatize the VA. We're going to reform and strengthen it, not privatize it. We will ensure access to timely, quality care for all of our veterans. Improve care for women who are often underserved. Identify and treat all wounds of war, visible and invisible, including Agent Orange and Gulf War syndrome, and traumatic brain injury and PTSD. We will end the epidemic of veteran suicides by expanding access to mental health care and fighting the stigma that isolates too many of our veterans from getting the care that they need.
And that was Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton speaking on Wednesday before the American Legion's annual convention in Cincinnati, laying out her plans for veterans as well as her other foreign policies. A little bit more about her speech in the Washington Times, which says, facing an uphill climb with men and women in uniform, Hillary Clinton on Wednesday made an impassioned pitch to veterans and service members, touting American exceptionalism and arguing that she's the only presidential candidate in the race capable and qualified to be commander-in-chief. Speaking at that convention, the former First Lady said her experience in the Senate and as Secretary of State has given her the tools to lead the nation's military, and she warned that her opponent, Republican Donald Trump, would alienate allies and diminish U.S. standing across the world. That's from the Washington Times, speaking about Hillary Clinton, who was, as I said, one of both candidates who spoke this week. And now we can take a look at what Donald Trump said when he spoke to the Legion yesterday morning.
I'm going to use every lawful authority to remove and discipline anyone who fails our veterans or breaches the public trust, which is what it is. It's a public trust. I will appoint a commission to investigate all the wrongdoing at the VA, and there's plenty, and then present those findings to Congress as the basis for reforming the entire system. We're going to get you fantastic service. It's going to happen, believe me. We'll ensure every veteran in America gets timely access to top quality care, including the best care in the world for our female veterans. The Veterans Health System will remain a public system because it is, after all, a public trust. But never again will we allow any veteran to suffer or die waiting for care. That means veterans will have the right to go to a VA facility or the right to see a private doctorate clinic of their choice, whatever is the fastest and best for veterans. People are not going to die waiting online to see a doctor. It's not going to happen.
And that was Donald Trump speaking yesterday before the American Legion. A little bit more about his address from Fox News. It says, kicking off the address in Cincinnati, Ohio, by invoking his campaign slogan, America First, Trump tried to settle any doubts about his support for the armed forces. He called for state-of-the-art missile defense, a, quote, total reform of the Veterans Affairs Department, and a policy of, quote, peace through strength. Nobody will be able to compete with us, Trump said. And we are talking to our viewers who are active and retired members of the military, asking you, who is your choice in the 2016 election? Again, those in the Eastern and Central time zones can call 202-748-8000. Those in the Mountain and Pacific regions, 202-748-8001. Up first, we have Tom, who's calling in from Malibu, California, a retired service member. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Actually, I served my 6 years. My family served in the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. I'm a Vietnam veteran. And the most important thing to me is I don't care about the Middle East, but my country I really do care about. And the only person I feel that really cares about the country and will do a good job would be Donald Trump. And I know quite a few military guys feel the same way.
Well, Tom, why is that? What has he said that makes you believe that he cares more about the military than former Secretary Clinton?
Well, look at her record. My goodness, everything she's touched, and I can go at depth back into what they did, leaving the Middle East, everything she touched didn't work. She didn't answer Benghazi. There's a lot of things in this world that she had control over, didn't work. I want someone who will take an aggressive approach and listen to the military. The folks in power and the secretary, they have not listened to the guys that are in the field, the generals, in protecting our country and our neighbors and our protecting Israel. I mean, they just don't do it. And like I said, this is the greatest place in the world to live. We have more good things here than any other place, and I want that protected. I want to protect it for my grandkids. And I want to thank you and C-SPAN for letting me rattle on. Thank you so much.
All right. Up next, we have Patrick. Patrick's calling in from Alexandria, Virginia, an active member of the military. Patrick, in what branch do you serve?
Army.
Okay. And who is your choice in 2016?
Governor Gary Johnson is who I will be voting for in November, ma'am.
Okay, the Libertarian candidate. What is it about Governor Johnson's campaign that won you over?
The biggest thing is that he's the only constitutional candidate, if we're being frank. I've listened to both Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump here for the past year, essentially. None of them exude pretty much anything that the Constitution stands for. That's why most of us joined the service in the first place, to uphold and defend the Constitution and American values. And I'm not getting that from any of the two major party candidates. But Governor Johnson, he's not perfect by any means whatsoever, but he is the only one upholding the Constitution in this election, as far as I'm concerned, man.
And is there, Governor Johnson, obviously he is running, he would need to get to 15% in the polls in order to get on the debate stage right now. His campaign is at about 10%. Are you concerned that perhaps he won't make it to the debate stage in order to talk about his plan for the veterans and his other policies?
I think that's a major concern with everyone supporting Governor Johnson in this election. But if we look at a poll, I think it was conducted by The Hill just within a few weeks ago. With the exception of the Navy, Governor Johnson is ahead of both Mr. Trump and Mrs. Clinton within the active duty military by a long shot. So I'm remaining a little bit optimistic here. Whether he'll get on the debate stage or not, I'm hoping that he will, but I'm also hoping that his message will cut through the crowd and that he'll be able to make a good difference here in this election.
Okay, that was Patrick calling in from Virginia, one of the states that has among the largest population of active and retired military. According to Ballotpedia, it stakes out some stats. The largest number of military members reside in California, followed by Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, and Virginia. Several of those states, including Florida and Pennsylvania, Virginia, and North Carolina, also key battleground states in the presidential election, which shows that our members of the armed services will play a big role in deciding who is the next commander-in-chief. And up next, we have Larry calling in from Dorchester, Massachusetts. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning. Thank you for C-SPAN.
Yes, and what branch of the military did you retire from?
I'm retired Navy, Vietnam era.
Okay.
And I'm voting for Hillary Clinton, and I want to just please bear with me. I'm going to make a Hitler comparison as far as Donald Trump goes, but not for the crazy, insane reasons that some people express it. I'm a student of history, amateur student, and I've always been fascinated by the prospect of an entire nation going down the wrong path. And I listen to a lot of these Donald Trump rallies or these supporters, and it's not just haters and extremists and clanners. It's just, it seems like it's ordinary people, and they seem to be driven by a frustration that I fully understand in certain areas, the loss of jobs, the uncertain direction of the country. But it seems to me that an entire segment of this country, and I don't know if it's just frightened white men in particular, seem to be willing to take a chance on somebody who is obviously a con man and who is obviously dangerous. When you have generals and statesmen and other high officials saying that they will leave the Republican Party to vote for Hillary Clinton, you know that something is off with this guy. And
well,
so
Larry, can I ask you a question? Is there something about Hillary Clinton that drives you to her, or is your support based on the fact that you are voting against Donald Trump?
There's a little bit of both. I hate the expression, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for her, but she's not my favorite candidate, but there is no comparison. She's real, she's experienced, she's tested under fire. And this guy, you can see the last couple of days, he sounds so presidential and he sounds so authoritative. He's reading from the teleprompter. The same thing he criticized her for doing, that's exactly what you're doing. And you can tell, if you close your eyes, you can tell every time he goes off script, and that's when he stops reading from the teleprompter and starts trying to improvise. Donald Trump is an empty suit. He's a con man, and I love my country. I'm a black American ex-serviceman. I love this country, and regardless of who wins the election in my history, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, people that I didn't particularly like, they were my president.
Right.
And I feel patriotic enough to say that. But Donald Trump, I fear for this country.
All right. On the front of today's USA Today, there's a story talking about the race and people making their choices, saying that fear, not excitement, is driving many supporters. It says supporters of both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are more motivated by fear about the other side claiming the White House than they are about excitement about their own candidate prevailing. Clinton holds a 7 percentage point lead over Trump, 48 to 41, but 80% of Donald Trump's supporters and 62% of Hillary Clinton supporters say if the other candidate wins in November, they would feel, quote, scared, the most negative of the 4 possible choices in that survey from USA Today on today's front page. Up next, we have David calling in from Detroit, Michigan, a retired member of the military. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
Good morning. And from what branch are you retired?
Well, I served 4 active and 2 inactive in the Navy. I went in 1978, immediately after high school, and I went in under Carter, and the last 2 years, of course, I served. Commander-in-Chief was, of course, Ronald Reagan. Now, fast forward, yes, I am going to vote for Hillary Clinton for the obvious reasons.
Well, what are those reasons? Tell us.
Well, think about it. I mean, she has served, and she has shown a propensity to serve as a high-ranking official, i.e., she did serve as Secretary of State, so she understands the fire. She understands what's going on. She also served as a U.S. Senator. But more importantly, what frightens me about the other candidate is his blustering, bombastic statements, his invidious way of dividing. And at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And let me say this. I have a son that will be graduating this weekend as I speak from the Air Force, going through boot camp. All right, so he'll be finishing up, passing a review this weekend. Do I want my son to serve under a person who is, to me, volatile and more unstable? No, I wouldn't. So I think that Hillary Clinton would be the person that I'm going to be voting for.
David, I just want to say, you're from Detroit. Tomorrow, Donald Trump will be traveling to Detroit in order to make his pitch. Is there anything that he can say tomorrow while he's in your hometown that might make you reconsider?
Let me say this, and I'm going to be very honest. If anything, I'm going to be one of the people that's going to be out there protesting that he would even come, if that addresses your question.
Okay.
There's nothing. In fact, as a matter of fact, from what I'm understanding, there's a leak, and the whole thing is scripted. So there's a veneer of falseness about what's going to take place. No, I'm not excited. I'm not enthused. And yes, I will probably be one of the people that will protest his mere presence.
Okay. It's speaking a little bit more about that appearance that is planned for Donald Trump tomorrow in Detroit. There is on the front page of today's New York Times, there was a piece that says the Trump campaign was carefully preparing for this appearance, where Donald Trump originally was scheduled to appear at a church in Detroit but not speak. The campaign apparently got some of the questions for a prepared sit-down interview afterwards, and was preparing a speech for Mr. Trump. It says an 8-page draft script obtained by the New York Times shows 12 questions that Bishop Wayne T. Jackson, the pastor of the church, intends to ask Mr. Trump in the taped question and answer session, as well as the responses Mr. Trump is being advised to give. The proposed answers were devised by aides working for the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee, according to an official who had been involved in the planning but declined to be identified. The campaign subsequently said that the presidential candidate will address the congregation at the church in Detroit, and as well as do the interview that will be aired sometime later. Up next, we have Jack. Jack is calling in from, I might say this wrong, Cattranchin, Pennsylvania. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
Good morning. Love your show. It's Cochranton, Pennsylvania. It's an Indian name.
Got you. Well, thank you. We appreciate you calling in, and we appreciate your service. Oh, in what branch did you serve, Jack?
Army.
In the Army. And who are you voting for this year?
I'm voting for Donald Trump. I started in the military in 1975 and retired in 2000. And I remember the Jimmy Carter era where we were scrounging for parts. And then Ronald Reagan came on board. Of course, there was the Iranian hostage incident, and we know how that worked out once Reagan took office. When Reagan came on, we had one of the biggest pay raises we ever had, so he took care of us.
Okay. And is that I
have full confidence in Trump as far as a commander-in-chief.
And is that one of the issues you mentioned, pay for the military? Is that one of the driving issues that are important to you when you're selecting your presidential campaign, Jack, or your presidential candidate?
Well, I just know when I was in the military, the Republicans always backed pay increases, and we had a good military. And in fact, it was the only part of government that was a well-oiled machine. And of course, we've seen how Obama's depleted that. And I want to mention one other thing before I close. I'll never forget when Obama's first Memorial Day, he sent Biden over to the unknown soldiers, and I thought that was pretty bad.
Okay. A little more about Donald Trump's appearance at the American Legion from the Washington Post. It points out that in his speech, the Republican presidential candidate talked of promoting Americanism, not globalism. He emphasized his commitment to ridding the Veterans Affairs Department of its problems, and he mostly stuck to his plans, issuing only a handful of direct attacks against his Democratic rival. Hillary Clinton, who spoke on Wednesday, repeatedly went after Trump, casting his trip to Mexico as a too little too late gesture that won't wash away his controversial rhetoric about illegal immigrants. She focused much of her speech on American exceptionalism, the idea that the United States should assume global responsibilities. A little bit of a contrast there between the two candidates speaking this week. Up next, we have Ted calling in from Warrenton, Oregon, a retired member of our military. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning there. I was in the civil engineers in the Air Force, active duty for many years, and I find that this election is just puzzling. That's the only word I can use, puzzling. And I want everybody to think back to your grandparents when they were 70 years old. Would you vote for them for president? I've listened to Gary Johnson. I've listened to the Green Party candidate. I've listened to all four of them. And I can honestly say with all my heart and soul, I don't believe that I will cast a ballot.
Wow.
It is just to the point where I've got a couple of young friends that are Army Rangers that were in Afghanistan and Iraq. And if anybody knows anything about an Army Ranger, they're extremely tough. And they said that their E4s, E5s, E6s, making about $2,700 a month, right next to them, here's a civilian military contractor, usually a retired policeman, making $50,000 a month. And the Army Rangers, these two brothers, told me that when the bullets fly, these military contractors were the first to run. And I find that I see too many young people doing nothing, and they need to start the draft. They really do.
Well, Ted,
Scoop them up and move them on.
Let me ask you this. Is there anything that you can hear from either Mr. Trump or Secretary Clinton or the other candidates, as you pointed out, Governor Johnson or Dr. Stein, that might help you make a decision and want to cast a ballot for one of them?
Well, I think back to 2001, days after 9/11. In this little county where I live, every big diesel pickup had an American flag flying. None of these, not one of them, spent one time in a green suit. None of them. And I call them boys the coulda, woulda, shouldas. And I do not think that Mr. Trump, who spent time in a military academy and voices that it was like the military, well, it really wasn't, Donnie. It really wasn't. So I'm just puzzled. That's the only word I can use.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Up next, we have Donald, who's calling in from Pittsburgh, another retired member of our services. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning, ma'am.
And who is your choice for the presidential election, and where did you serve, Donald?
Former Marine. I'm actually going for Trump, and my reasons are I think it's time for a non-political person that hasn't spent their entire life in politics. And as far as Hillary Clinton, she's had more than enough chances to prove herself, and to me, she hasn't. I actually went to the VA hospital a few months ago. Blood pressure was dangerously high. The doctor actually said, "How are you sitting here? You're at stroke level or possibly heart attack level." But since your medical papers have not gone through yet, I don't even have the authority to send you to another wing in this hospital to have you checked out for that. Now, I hear Hillary Clinton talking about everything she's going to do for veterans. I'm the one you want. I'm going to make sure everything's fine. Ma'am, you've been there, and you've done nothing. To this point in her political career, I've never heard her talk about everything she's going to do for veterans. And I'm not going to sit here like other people and say it's political ploy, because that's what politics are.
Well, Donald, let me ask you this. Are you concerned that the fact that Donald Trump has never dealt with an organization like the VA or anything else, this would be his first time in public office if he wins, is that a concern to you, that he may not bring the tools to fix the job?
My answer to this is the VA has become big business. Any other entity in government, when they're short on money, they dip into the VA coffer because of all the money that's there. And would you want a businessman running a business or a career politician running a business?
Okay. All right, up next we have Herman. Herman's calling in from St. Rose, Louisiana, retired military. Good morning, Herman.
Good morning.
And who is your pick for president?
I'm voting for Hillary.
And why is that?
But I have experience. Just like me, a 20-year retired military, two tours of Vietnam. I think that's experience. Whereas I don't think a businessman has a lot more to run in the country than being a businessman. But the question I have is for Mr. Donald Trump about the wall he's talking about building, and have Mexico pay for it. I thought when someone wanted to keep you off their property or keep your home from being burglarized, you put in burglarized system or put in bars on your doors and windows and put a fence around your property and pay for it. You ask the burglar to pay for that? That sounds like a bully to me, and I don't think we need that type of person to run our country, being a bully. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, let's take a look at a little bit more what Donald Trump had to say at the American Legion when he spoke there yesterday morning.
We also have to make sure we give our military the tools they need to defend that flag and to deter violence and aggression from our foreign adversaries, of which there are many. We will rebuild our depleted military and pursue a state-of-the-art missile defense. We will do it based on those three very famous words: peace through strength. These next 4 years, I will be uncompromising in the defense of the United States and our friends and our good allies. We are going to end the era of nation building and create a new foreign policy, joined by our partners in the Middle East, that is focused on destroying ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism. We will extend the hand of friendship to any nation that will work with us in good faith on this vital mission. And we want this mission to be accomplished quickly.
That was Donald Trump speaking before the nation's largest veteran services organization. And we're talking to our veteran viewers today about their choice for 2016. Up next, we have Glenn, who's calling in from Atlantic City, New Jersey, retired member of the military. What branch, Glenn?
I was in the Air Force.
And what do you what do you think of what Mr. Trump had to say right then? Are you a Trump supporter?
Trump for president, but I'll tell you, I don't like the way you're asking us who we're voting for, so it looks like it's 50-50. You're going every other one. The calls should just be coming in. This C-SPAN needs to be run like Brian Lamb ran it, where you saw what was happening. You guys like to set stuff up. You're putting the New York Times out there to write that write negative on all of Donald all the time.
All right.
And they never write anything positive. And that's who you like to quote. I don't like the way C-SPAN is leaning left. I don't like it. You need to get back to the center. You need to balance that ship. Trump for president. We've got a lady who everybody in the world knows everything she had to say now for the last 6 years.
Okay.
You know, and look, she was senator. She didn't do anything. She's been up there. She's established, like everybody else says. She needs to go. The Democrats need to go. They've had plenty of time. Republicans, it's time. And we're not even Republicans. We're not. We're just another set of people looking to grab a hold of something so we can identify and get this country back. Trump's the man right now. I worked for the man for a lot of years, and I didn't always like him working for him, and I don't always like what he's got to say. But I'm telling you right now, he's more honest than anybody else out there right now.
Well, Glenn, can I ask you a question on that? What did you not like about working for him?
I did like working for him.
Oh, you said you did. Okay.
I did like working for him. And I'll tell you right now, the Democrats haven't done anything. They're not going to do anything. The race card, there's nobody racist. Obama and the Democrats and the whole liberal establishment are the ones that always put the box there that want to know what color, what sex, what color, where you. They're the ones that put the new one in there, transgender. A lot of us just want to live our lives the way we got to live them, normal, without everybody else. No, even colored people don't want to check that box. White people don't want to check that box. We're human beings out here.
Okay.
We should even
and just today we are dividing our calls by region, geographic region today, not by a political party. And as we talk to our retired veterans calling in about their selection for president, those in the Eastern and Central time zones, 202-748-8000. Those in the Mountain and Pacific time zones, 202-748-8001. Up next, we have Matthew. Matthew's calling in from Rossville, Georgia, a retired member of our military. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning.
And who is your choice for 2016?
Donald Trump is my choice for president. I did 22 years in the military, and I got disabled. And I would go fight today if they'd send me rolling in a wheelchair with a stick. But I'm disappointed in the Democrats that know all the things they know about Hillary, and yet they vote just because they're a Democrat. And I ask my Democrat friends to really study the situation, what's going on in our country, what will happen if Hillary gets in our White House. It'll destroy this country, and for our grandkids and for our kids, she'll do a lot of bad.
Well, Matthew, let me ask you this: as a veteran, what is it that you've seen from Donald Trump that you think that has convinced you that he would make a better commander-in-chief for our armed services?
Well, looking at Hillary does have a record, and people keep saying her experience. And her experience, in my eyes, and most people across the country, have all been bad. I don't know what Donald Trump will actually do with all that he has to do, but I see his record that he's gone forward and done great things in what he tries to accomplish. He's accomplished a lot of great things, and I think he'll do a lot for the military. I think he'll do a lot for our country. I don't think he's prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced, and it bothers me that people are afraid to stick a sign in their yard or wear a T-shirt because they'll be associated by being a president or by being prejudiced by showing who they vote for. That's a terrible thing for me to see. I had to paint a sign to put in my front yard because I couldn't even find a sign to be bought in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay. Okay. We're speaking to our members of the military, active and retired, about their choices for president. And according to The Hill, as mentioned by an earlier caller, a poll showed that Libertarian Gary Johnson would beat Trump and Clinton among active troops in a recent poll that was taken in July. It says military troops favor Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson for president over Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. According to the survey, Johnson garnered 38.7% of the active duty vote versus 30.9% for Trump and 14.1% for Clinton, according to the survey, which was conducted via the popular military personality Doctrine Man. We are talking to our members of the military. Up next, we have Larry, who is retired, calling in from Morganton, North Carolina. Larry, who's your choice for 2016?
Hillary.
And why is that?
Because Donald Trump you can't trust him. He's crooked. Ain't no guy gonna sit there and say a POW is nothing. Dodges 4 or 5 times to get a deferment from the draft. If you ever play basketball, you can't trust Trump. And anybody sit up there and say the last guy calling about people being racist, but he can use the word color. I don't know what color people he was talking about. It's pathetic. Trump ain't nothing but divide them. He'll call it a racial war before he call it any other kind of war.
Okay. Up next, we have Nick. Nick is calling in from Pikesville, North Carolina, another retired member of our armed forces. Nick, what branch did you serve?
Marine Corps.
Okay. And who is your choice for 2016?
My choice is Donald Trump. You know, you can't have a person like Hillary that lies constantly. I mean, and people see her lie, but yet they want her in the White House. I wouldn't trust her with nothing. You know, everybody's saying Donald Trump is a racist. I don't see where he's a racist. You know, you check into Hillary's background, you look at the speeches that she's made in the past about how, you know, people should be, we should separate everybody. We need to get rid of the illegal aliens. Everybody's talking about the illegal aliens coming here to the United States like it's just Mexico, and it's not. It's other countries that are coming in here, too, and we have to stop them. But this woman, Hillary, she's nothing but a liar.
Well, Nick, let me ask you this. You mentioned immigration. Is that the top issue that is important to you when choosing a presidential candidate?
No, the economy is, but that's all they bring up is immigration because they know that Trump's going to walk all over her on the economy. I mean, you know, but the economy is the most important thing to me. But, you know, all you hear is immigration, immigration, immigration. You know, I don't see where Trump is a racist. I have yet to hear anything racist come out of his mouth other than he wants to make the United States his #1 priority. And it's about time somebody does that.
Okay. We are talking to our members of our armed services about the 2016 election. And a programming note, on Wednesday, Veterans Affairs Secretary Robert McDonald will be our guest on Washington Journal, which starts at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. Be sure to tune in then as well. Up next, we have Dr. Solis calling in from McLean, Virginia, a retired member of the military. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
And what branch did you serve before you retired?
United States Marine Corps.
Okay. And who is your choice for president?
I'm an independent who plans to vote for Mrs. Clinton, Secretary Clinton.
And why is that? What is it about Secretary Clinton that earned your vote?
She has the background, she has the experience, she has the proven experience and performance over an extended period of time in the work that she's done for this country.
And is there a top issue that's most important to you that helped you make your choice in this race?
Yes, there's several. The first one is keeping this country safe. And when I say keeping this country safe, I'm talking about performing as the commander-in-chief of this great nation. I spent 40 years on active duty as a colonel in the United States Marine Corps. I fought in 3 wars. I'm appalled at the number of Marines that are calling in, suggesting that Mr. Trump is going to be a commander-in-chief of the United States of America. It's just amazing that anyone who has trained to be a Marine could look at this man and his background, listen to him and his lack of temperament, his lack of performance, his lies, when people that have called in indicated that they're tired of Hillary Clinton lying. I'm supposing that they're referring to Benghazi. and I'm assured that the lies that they're referring to are those that are promoted by the Republican Party as it promotes an issue against the Democratic Party. I'm sure that they're not listening to the answers. But if you listen to some of the answers that Mr. Trump gives on national television, as recent as yesterday, where he threw out numbers that don't even make sense, programs that are inoperable, those things are just dramatically impossible to perform. Yet, the Marines that are calling in, and that's the only reason I called, after hearing all these Marines that are calling, suggesting that this man, Mr. Trump, would be a commander-in-chief of the United States of America, that just appalls me.
Okay. Up next, we have Nilda calling in from Tampa, Florida, another retired member of our armed services. In what branch did you serve, Nilda?
U.S. Navy. I have been writing down a couple of notes here. I want to real quickly say that my husband has 4 college degrees. We're educated. I wish to say I have the college degrees, but I raised the kids and didn't. One of the things that bothers me is the racism part. I'm Puerto Rican. I have Mediterranean, African roots. I can trace my family back to Spain, to the 1600s. What bothers me and my husband is the lying and the cheating and the corruption we're seeing coming from the White House. And where there is smoke, and she says there's no fire. No, where there is smoke, there is a problem.
Well, Nilla, let me ask you a question that I asked some of the other members of our armed services. Is the fact that Mr. Trump, Donald Trump, has never held office before. Does it concern you at all that someone with no prior experience in the government could be commander-in-chief of our armed forces?
Yes, because if you think back and go back, a lot of people that have done good for the United States of America never had military background to begin with. But the thing is he loves America. You can see it, you can hear it. I mean, it's literally, it literally comes out of his mouth subconsciously when almost the very last thing says, I love America and I love you. And his personality, we sit here, he can put his foot in his mouth, but he's open, he's honest. To us, we see a sense of humor. Everybody wants to put him down as not having a sense of humor. We actually think he's quite quirky and enjoy hearing him talk. And the other thing is we believe Hillary put us in danger with these countries that I could start making a whole list, Iran, Syria, Libya, and all this stuff.
Okay. Okay. Up next, we have Amos. Amos is calling in from Bowman, South Carolina. Amos, from what branch did you retire?
I used to work for the Navy, but I'm no longer able to be employed. I'm disabled now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to share some viewpoints about this issue that is being presented here in America.
Well, first tell us who your candidate is. Who are you supporting in 2016?
Well, right now I'm going to have to support the Democratic Party due to the simple fact of Mrs. Clinton. She was a valuable part of the national security for America in the United States. Say, everybody keep forgetting that Edward Snowden committed one of the biggest crimes against America and its government. And when he revealed our secrets to other nations and our safe havens, that was the cause of Benghazi. Benghazi was just a show of strength to show you how far Snowden had penetrated into our top secret information and our safe havens. But we want to say that Mrs. Clinton was at fault. No. You can't blame her because when they learned about the beef, they reacted. But those folks showed them just how deeply they have penetrated into our national security.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for those folks who lost family members. I'm sorry for those folks who lost sons and daughters in the war in hand-to-hand combat. You know, so as we talk about making the Clinton reveal emails that she has to switch to protect America's secret, I know that will be a big mistake for America, for its intelligence and its secret and its national security.
Okay. Up next, we have Doc. Doc is calling in from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
And who calls on another nation to intervene in American government affairs. He should not. His application for employment with the American government should be squashed.
Okay. Hello. Sorry, Doc, are you there? So we had a cross line there. Good morning, Doc. What branch of the military did you serve in?
I was hired from the Air Force.
Okay. And who are you supporting?
I have to support Mr. Trump, not enthusiastically, but no way I could support Hillary Clinton. Reason being, it took Ronald Reagan many, many years to destroy the evil empire.
Okay. I'm having a little technical difficulty here. I apologize to Doc for losing him. Up next, we have Benny calling in from Charlotte, North Carolina, a retired member of our military. What branch, Benny?
I was in the Army.
Okay. And who is your candidate for 2016?
Ms. Hillary Clinton will be my candidate.
And why is that? In just the few seconds we have left.
Okay. Well, my personal reason, I don't think Donald Trump is fit to run the United States. That's my personal opinion now, okay? All Donald Trump has ever did was get deferment from the United States Army. He has never served in the military in any capacity. All he did was made a lot of money, and people think that's the thing that gets you through the world. When he died, I promise you, there would be no U-Haul following him down to the grave to carry his money with him. So all these people calling in and saying, Hillary lied about this and Hillary lied about that. We understand that. But my problem is with Donald Trump is if he talked to people, if anybody talked to him like he talked to other people, this world would be in a bad shape because would nobody stand up and let you talk to them like a dog, like he does to people.
Okay. Okay. That's all we have for this segment. Up next, we